channel. Today I am going to be starting on a project that I'm super excited about. I saw this on, I think it was the Disney Cruise Line Instagram stories. If you follow them, I'm sure you saw it too. But we are going to be making my kids' bedrooms into Disney Cruise Line stateroom doors. And so if you saw that Instagram story, you saw how they gave like an art pack where you can print out different characters that you might put on your Disney stateroom door. And so I printed those out. I'm just about to go cut them out, but I'm also going a step further. I'm actually going to be painting my kids' doors and trying to make them look as close as I can to the Disney Cruise Line stateroom doors. So I'm pretty sure I have a white paint. I'm gonna have to try to figure out how to, there's like a little nail head design on it that I'm gonna try to do. I'm not an artist by any means, so I don't really know if that's gonna work. Other than that, I just thought this would be a fun project for quarantine, and we actually are getting new doors in a couple months. If this whole thing doesn't work out, that's fine, we'll get new doors. Either way, even if it does only last a couple months, I just thought it would be a fun thing, a fun project for us to do, and hopefully it'll turn out really cute so the kids will be excited to go upstairs and go into their rooms and look at all the different characters on their doors. So I'm gonna go ahead and get started on cutting those characters out, and then we'll tackle painting the door maybe later tonight or tomorrow. So like I said, the first thing that I'm getting started with is cutting out all of the little decorations for the doors. If you've ever been on a Disney cruise, you know that the stateroom doors are magnetic, so everyone decorates their doors with their favorite character or with their names or past cruises or whatever, and so this is sort of a little nod to that. Disney Cruise Line actually released these on their Instagram stories, like I said, a few weeks ago, so I just went to that link, printed a bunch of them out on cardstock. I definitely recommend cardstock if you're going to do this because there's a lot of small cutout areas that you want to be stable.
I get so caught up in the middle, thinking of drowning in
the first thing I did was to remove these little name decals from my kids' doors. They're super cute, but I didn't want to paint over them, so I had to remove those first. And then the next thing I did was use a piece of chalk and a ruler to mark where I wanted that nail head trim to go in the center of the door. And then I just used some old paint that I had to create those lines. And what I'm going to do is once this dries, I will put painter's tape over it and then paint the rest of the door white so that this part will sort of be that little frame inside the door. I went ahead and made an arch on the top of the door because that's how the Disney stateroom doors are, but I wasn't exactly sure at the time how I was going to tape that off or make it a clean line. I just decided to do it just in case by the time the paint dried and I was ready to tape it off, I had figured out a plan. But at the end of the day, I didn't think of a good way to make a clean line there for that arch, so I ended up making it a straight line on the top anyway.
blue eyes. I'm losing sight 'cause I am falling. I'm so deep down, and it's not a lie that I die. I can't hide what this is. Yeah, I keep drowning in those blue eyes, and you can tell me all of your lies.
And this is how that first door looked after I was done painting that trim. I made the lines much wider than they had to be so that I had room for error when taping off.
I will put out all of the fire if it gets too dark. I'll be your light. Be your light. I'll be your light. If it gets too dark, I'll be your light.
Next, I went back and remeasured where that chalk had been the first time and made new chalk marks over the paint so that I knew exactly where I wanted to put my tape. And I made several up and down the door so that I knew my tape was lined up all the way down.
Be your light. I'll be your light. If it gets too dark, yeah, I can carry all that you've got. Two heavy hearts is not a lot. I will put out all
Then I went ahead and cut my tape to the correct length. Maybe the hardest part of this was making sure that my tape had a right angle on the corners so that the paint underneath would be even, but other than that, this was pretty easy.
Can tell me all of your lies. I will put out all of the fire.
Alright, I decided to just go with the square top instead of the arch because Lord knows that was hard enough for me just getting that tape lined up, so I'm not even gonna try it. I would rather it be perfect and not exactly like the original than me trying to do it freehand and just not being happy with the result. So I'm going with this, and I still know I'm gonna be happy with it.
If it gets too dark, I'll be your light.
And then I grabbed my white paint and stirred it up and started painting over where I had that tape marked off on my door. This took several coats because we had dark brown doors, but I decided to do it with a paintbrush instead of a roller just because I didn't want the cleanup of a roller. It would work just the same either way, and I was happy with how it turned out. As you can see in the background, we are doing this to multiple doors, all 3 of our bedroom doors actually. So you'll see different shots throughout the video of me painting different doors. It all just depended on when I was able to get some work in with the kids, and also if I was doing something that I wasn't sure about. I didn't film it the first time. I waited until I tried it out and made sure it worked, and then I showed you the way that I did end up doing it.
I am running for you. I am running for you. I am running for you. If it gets too dark, I'll be your light. Be your light. I'll be your light. If it gets too dark.
Then it was finally time to peel the tape off, and I was so happy with the results. I was a little bit skeptical. I feel like I've worked with tape in the past and it hasn't worked as well as it did on this project. I don't know if that's the brand of tape or the technique, but one thing that I did to try to stop it from bleeding underneath the tape, other than making sure it was pressed down really well, was to always paint in the direction that the tape was going. I never used my paintbrush perpendicular to the tape. I always painted along the strip of tape. It seemed to have worked. Here's how we did with the painter's tape. I am very happy with these lines. As you can see, in some places there's some white left over. That will be super easy to touch up, so I'm not too concerned about that. But I'm just happy the rectangles turned out perfectly and they're aligned and they look so beautiful, and this is going to be the perfect canvas for the rest of the door. So I'm so happy with how these turned out. This is the color I'm using for the border on the doors. which is this part right here. If you look at the Disney cruise ship doors, they are all one color and it's more like this color, but they also have a recessed part right here where there's little nail heads. I know they're not actually nail heads, but that's what they look like. I don't know what else to call them. So this part is actually recessed on their doors. Of course, my door, I can't change the dimension of it, so I just use a little bit of a darker color in order to make it look like that's a little bit of a shadow there. So as I was painting over some of these spots, you can see where I just did those ones because they're still wet. As I was painting over these ones on the side, I noticed there was like some flaking coming off, and then it dawned on me that that was the chalk where I had measured like from the side of the door where to put the tape. And so I just went down with my finger and wiped it all off. So there actually was zero bleed underneath this tape. That was all chalk all the way around here. Whatever I showed you before, none of it was paint. It was all chalk. Okay, we are so close to being done with this Disney door project. If I haven't said this before, I'm doing 3 doors. I'm doing both my kids' doors and our master bathroom door because why not? I didn't want them to have fun doors and us not to. Plus, like I keep saying, we're getting new doors pretty soon anyway. So almost done. We are at the details now. As you can see, I finished the trim, and now we are moving on to the nail heads. And so what I'm doing for the nail heads, I've already tested this out on a different door, so I know that it works. But tried a couple different things, but I ended up going with this little stencil. I just found something circular and made a stencil out of it. And then to figure out like how many dots that I wanted and how far apart to space them, I put 1 dot in each corner because I knew I wanted that for sure. And then based on like the length of the tops of this top square and the bottom, I decided I wanted there to be 4 dots there. And then on the long piece here, I decided I wanted 6 dots because just based on how long that is and how far apart I wanted between each dot, I decided 6 for that part. And then the little rectangle on the bottom is not as high, so there's going to be 5 dots going up and down there. But basically all that I did was tried to make all of those lines divisible by the same or a pretty consistent number. So as you can see here, they weren't all divisible by the same number, but I was able to get them pretty close, right around 4.5, between 4.5 and 5 inches. So that with the naked eye, you won't be able to tell that there's a difference between the spaces, if that makes sense. So basically what I do is I just put a circle first in each corner. So I know those are going to be there regardless. And then I measure from the edge of this corner to the edge of this corner and see how long that distance is. And then basically I know that these dots are 1.5 inches, so I can get rid of 3 inches there and then divide whatever that number is by 3 because I want there to be 3 spaces. And that's how I got the distance for, or the measurement for these spaces here. So then I basically just run a ruler from here to here, mark it, draw the circle there, put a ruler from here to here, mark it, draw a circle there. Hopefully that makes some more sense. I know I'm not explaining that very well, but in truth it's not a very mathematically accurate or proficient way of doing it, so. while you're watching me paint these imperfect circles, I just wanted to mention that I did try a few different methods of doing these circles. I tried like a stamp method where I just used something circular and put some paint on the back and tried to stamp it onto the doors, but it didn't give me a perfect circle and I would have had to fill in the outline of the circle anyway. I tried this stencil method where I just marked where the circle was and then went in and painted it later. I also tried using the stencil and just painting directly over the paper, but it still gave me imperfect lines around the edge of the circle. So basically, at the end of all that trial, I figured out that I was still going to have to paint the edges of the circle, which was the most tedious part anyway, so I figured I would just go all the way and paint the whole thing myself.
Someday we will look back and our hearts will be whole again. I want to remember all that happened to us. 'Cause
I just finished the doors after many coats, many days, obviously many outfit changes, because this took me, I think I started it last Monday, so it took me about 8 days to do 3 doors. That's with kids though, but it did take a lot of like coming back to after the paint dried and like just little details that took a lot of time, especially being home and taking care of kids and stuff, but I'm finally done and it was totally worth all of the effort. I would have been so disappointed by putting this much time into it if it wasn't, but it was so worth it. I can't wait to show you. Let's go see. Where should it go? Like right here?
yeah.
Oh.
One
Maybe I
I
should be doing this
took
with the door
Mommy.
closed.
One paper.
Look at Piper's door.
That's Harrison's room.
Harrison's door.
Yay!
Piper's room. Here, Piper. Put it on where you want it. Right there. Good job, Piper.
Okay.
Good job, Piper. Sorry.
Alright, we're doing Piper's story.
Yay. Oh, wait. Let's bring it. How about right here? Right there?
Yay!
Yay!
So, okay. Good job, Bob.
You own Piper's paper.
Wanna drive through the summer night, and when we are old and gray, we'll look back at this summer night.
My door.
Okay, you can put that one on your door.
I know that.
Good job! Okay, go get another one.
Mommy.
Yeah!
In the back.
Where are you gonna put it?
Right there.
Oh my gosh, I love it! Well, here is the finished product. I'm so happy with how they came out, that they were personally decorated by the kids. Harrison's never even been on a Disney cruise, and I'm sure Piper doesn't remember, but they both love Mickey and Minnie, so I knew they would have so much fun doing this, and we all love looking at them. Well, I hope that this video inspired you to do something fun just like this, or maybe this exact same thing. I might not have explained everything perfectly in the video. I try to do my best, but if you have any questions, please ask me because I would love to answer your questions. Overall, I'm so happy with it. I hope that this just was a fun video for you to watch. Whether or not you've been on the Disney cruise ship, this will bring some Disney warmth to your heart right now while all the parks and cruises and all that stuff is closed. So if you like this video, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel, and I'll see you in the next video.